Well, folks, I'm back with you again. This is number 3 in the series. I'm going to call this Joining the Hull Panels. I want to start with the line drawing again, and just wanted to briefly mention that the reason that I'm not starting with my smiling face is that I'm undergoing a little bit of an acid treatment for my face right now. I grew up in Miami and I spent way too much time in the sun back before they even knew what sunscreen was. So my face is looking pretty red and irritated. I probably don't want to see it on the screen. So I'll be off the video personally for a while, but I'm continuing to work on the boat. So today, again, we're talking about joining the hull panels. Right here, you can see what the 5 panels look like when they are joined together. In the center, you have what they refer to as the floor panel. Then on both sides, those are the bilge panels. And then on the outside, you have the 2 long ones that are the topside panels. So those are the 5 panels that you're going to be using to assemble the hull. This is after they are glued together. I wanted to show you what the joints look like. And this is where I've started to deviate slightly from the plan. What you're looking at here is the joint that connects the 2 floor panels. You can see right here, this is 2-ounce fiberglass tape that I used to connect the panels initially. It's a lot easier just to use the tape, get the panels lined up and make sure that the joint is nice and tight. Then on top of that, and this is a deviation from the plan, I have put a layer of 4-ounce cloth. And you can see right here, you can see the line where the cloth stops. And on this bottom panel, it runs from the back side. You see here, we have, right here, we have 4 ounces of fiberglass cloth. And here we just still have bare wood. Then it runs up to the front here where we have the main bulkhead, where we have the fiberglass cloth stopping here, and going forward it's just going to be wood. So what I'm doing is I'm reinforcing the floor. I'll show you on the line drawing. I'm reinforcing the floor from just a little bit ahead of this, which is the main bulkhead that supports the mast. And on the floor panel and the bilge panels, it's going to run all the way aft, right back to here where there's this crossover member that ties the 2 sides together. That is additional fiberglass cloth that is not specified in the original plans. I did want to show you here what it's going to look like. This is a little drawing I made that shows the boat. So the bottom panel, which we just looked at, is going to have 4 inches of cloth on the inside. The entire hull is going to be wrapped at the bottom, and up the top side's about 2 inches with 4-inch cloth. There's going to be 4-inch cloth on the bilge panel here and here, and this will all be connected. The purpose of this is twofold. It's one, to make the boat a little bit stronger in the hull, but the other thing, as you can see here, what I'm working on, this is, again, is the floor panel. I'm working on a completely smooth floor, and later I'll show you what the butt plates look like and why I'm trying to eliminate them. I did use the butt plates for both of the top side panels because they're actually behind the flotation tanks and you can't see them. So this is what I've been working on so far. I did want to point out a couple of things. I just ran across this in a video the other day on general woodworking. And what they're suggesting, and I didn't do this, but I think I would have done it, is when you glue these 2 panels together, when you butt these 2 pieces of wood up against each other, they're recommending taking the adhesive, in this case epoxy, and using a chip brush and brushing it into the end grain on both of these pieces of wood that will be separated. Brushing it into the end grain and letting it sit for 5 or 10 minutes so that it actually is absorbed into the end grain, and then come back with more epoxy and the cloth, and you'll get a much better and a much stronger bond. So this is what I've been doing. I've bonded the floor panels together. This is the bilge panel on one side, and I've bonded the top sides. And later I'll be showing you just exactly what the butt plate looks like and why I've decided to do it this way. Again, this is not what is recommended in the plan. I did talk to Michael about this quite a bit, and he said that this method does produce a sufficiently strong joint. It takes a little bit longer. The butt plate is much easier. It's faster and potentially stronger. I don't know. But that's what I've been doing so far on assembling these panels. I have all of them put together. So as I promised, I want to show you the mistakes that I've made. At least I consider them to be mistakes. This is the joint of the two topside pieces. This is pretty much in the center of the boat. And if you look carefully at the joint, you can see a slight discoloration in the wood right up along this line. You can see a discoloration in the wood. And this is one piece, and over here is the other piece. Now this has one layer of epoxy on it so far, and I did do some sanding, but you can see a slight discoloration right there, and you can see where it's a little bit thicker right here. There's a slight milkiness to it. And both this discoloration in the wood that you see here on one side and the discoloration and the milkiness that you see on the other side are all a result of the Cellophyll thickener and reinforcing powder that I put in the mix to glue the butt plates, which are on the underside here. And the whole thing was upside down when I was working on it, so the mixture of Cellophyll and resin oozed through the joint and got on the backside where the plastic was. And so this is a discoloration that because of the Cellophyll, you can't get rid of it. You could sand it all off, but then you run the risk of sanding through the first layer of laminate and down into the glue, which is sort of a blackish color, and that doesn't work either. So my suggestion on this would be, when you glue the butt plates on the other side, I would say don't use the Cellophyll reinforcing powder because of this discoloration and the tendency for it to sort of develop a milky color. I would say just use the straight, clear epoxy resin, and you'll have a very strong joint, and you won't get this problem with the color. So I just wanted to show you one more shot of this, and not to beat a dead horse, but I wanted you to clearly understand how the Cellophyll mixed with the resin makes the resin look sort of milky instead of being perfectly clear. And if you want your top sides to be just a clear finish, then just use the straight resin by itself when you're gluing the butt plates, and you'll wind up with just a fine joint there that you can hardly see, and all the colors will be blended. I did want to take this opportunity to show you one other thing. This is the plywood after one coat of clear epoxy resin, and you can see pretty clearly, there's no fiberglass here, this is just the wood. You can see how the grain is raised up, and it's quite rough. Now I'm going to put another coat on here today, and then I'm not quite sure whether I'm going to do the sanding after the second coat and put the third coat on, or put the third coat on and then sand when it's all built up. But this will eventually be painted. So I'll do a lot of sanding of the resin, then there'll be the high build primer, and then the finished paint. But anyhow, after you put the first coat of resin on the bare wood, this is the kind of texture you get as the grain raises up. So folks, in closing today, there is just one more thing that I'd like to point out about resin. We've already talked about the use of the Cellophyll powder as a reinforcing agent for the resin. and what it looks like on the wood when it sets up. One more point that I'd like to make is that when you're building your boat, if you want to have a clear finish anywhere in the boat, whether it's on the sides of the boat, the top sides, whether it's on the inside, try to remember that every single mark on the wood that you make is going to show. For example, here's a little code for what section this is, just a little pencil line, things like that. Every single thing, every slight imperfection on the wood is going to show. So in the areas where you want a clear finish, be especially careful in handling the wood. If you're going to make any pencil marks, make them as light as possible, because you're going to have to sand them out sooner or later. Another thing that I wanted to show you that was a little bit of a learning experience for me, and if this is your first build, this is something that you might keep in mind. So here we have fiberglass cloth that's covered with epoxy, and as you can see, the fiberglass cloth disappears and you have a nice clear slick finish. Right here you have resin, epoxy only on the wood, and you have a nice clear finish. And here you have the bare wood, and you look and you think, boy, there's a huge difference in the color. But what I wanted to assure you is that by the time you get done coating all of this with more resin, everything blends together. There is no color differentiation like you see here, and so you'll wind up with a beautiful finish. So just remember, anything that you paint with resin, you can sand it, you can recoat it, you can double coat it. It's all going to come out the same color, and it will be quite attractive. So that's just a little tip for you on the resin, and you'll get a beautiful finish. So again, Captain Boat Builder signing off for today. Hope you're enjoying the videos so far. If you have any questions, just text me a question. I'll try to answer it if I can. And I hope you enjoy the series. So long for today.